All right. It is back. We are back. The late night happy hour is back. Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky. And anytime we launch a show or get 50 episodes deep into a show, we bring on our friend Ben Lyons. This is what we did the first time at the Old Shop, and that's what we're doing now.
He is we've talked about this before. Ben Lyons is our Bill Murray to our David Letterman, because for people who aren't aware, the old original David Letterman show, his first guest was Bill Murray. I believe they shared an agent, Michael Ovitz, and they just really clicked. And then he kept bringing back Bill Murray for all these different occasions. And then when he moved to CBS, his first guest was Bill Murray, and Bill Murray tagged his set. So Ben was our first guest on 710, and then he was our first repeat guest. And then we've decided to bring him back. And if we weren't doing this virtually, we would let him tag our set. Like, Ben, the next time we can all be together, you can come over and like spray paint our houses. Something like that.
Like jump on a big, like do the big Velcro suit thing. That would be cool. Do you have?
Bring back some of my graffiti names from the mid '90s in New York City that have been seen on the Upper West Side to this day.
The statute of limitations.
Thanks for having me back on the new show, guys.
Of course, man. We wanted it to be you specifically. Now, the statute of limitations for 90s graffiti is well past. Can you reveal some of your names?
At one point, I just wrote Benjamin, which was sort of silly because then I feel like I would be busted. I wrote Khalif, C-A, like California, but just stopped at the F. I wrote Ganga, G-O-N-G-A. I wrote Ganga for a long time.
Did that mean something?
No, it was Ganga for life. Didn't mean anything. What else? Oh, I wrote Sparks at one point, and now look how life comes full circle, huh? Look at that.
Nice.
This was before the WNBA. I was writing Sparks all over LA, over New York City. Yeah, graffiti and I didn't have a long love affair. It was about 6 weeks of some paint markers from Michaels in a sketchbook and a couple taxi cabs, and that was about it.
I am impressed. Like, so was this like your big rebellious stage? Like, you acting out against, an oppressive home life in New York with parents?
Going to private school and summer camp and having any musical lesson I wanted was just not something I was down with.
That's how you fought back against the system.
No, I mean, New York in the 90s was very different, even for a child of privilege. Despite, having means as a child, you're still out in the city and living your life, and you're encountering all different types of cultures and things happening. So 10 years after the 80s, which if you think of graffiti in New York in the 80s, I mean, entire subway cars and the whole thing. So I think every kid who grew up in that environment had a fascination with it at some point. I have friends to this day who are like around our age who have very successful jobs in finance and like go off on the weekends at night at 4 a.m. with like ski masks and do the whole thing. So
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Still go out and tag stuff.
Yeah, I have a few friends who are like still into that life because there's like a deep emotional connection to it for some people once they get past the sort of juvenile rebellion, I suppose.
When did you quit? Like, what made you? Was there an incident
6 hours after I started? I don't know. After I like wasn't good at it. Like I got into sports and other things. Like I wasn't about to break the law for fun. So
that is a really bad way to lose a really good job in finance or whatever. Getting caught tagging, because you will lose your job.
Like, did you see that piece I did up in the Bronx though, across the West Side Highway? It's amazing.
I mean, like, unless you're, I don't know, Keith Haring or what's his name, the guy now, Banksy. Unless you're Banksy or Keith Haring, like, you really ought not to be doing this past a certain age, particularly if you have a livelihood to protect.
Yeah, it's like the Coke window story I always tell. Like, you reach a certain point in your life where if you haven't done Coke, you missed your window, and that's me. All right, so let's do a little NBA here. We got a lot to talk about. We got NBA stuff. We got Hollywood stuff. Ben's in a book club. We're going to break that down. He went from Look at this story of a youth that was on his way to just horrible things.
There was a fork in the road for Ben.
And you went book club. And I think that's great. So we're going to get into what Ben is reading later. That people are going to stick around for that, I'm sure. Let's talk about tonight's game. Lakers win 112 to 102. All right. the defense was incredible in the fourth quarter, and like the Rockets scored 38 points in the second half. So let's talk about LeBron, because that's what this game was about. The dude became passing Derek Fisher. It's always nice when Fish ends up in the news, but passing Derek Fisher as the all-time playoff wins leader. Like, this is one of those things where I really wish the games were in LA and stuff, because what he's doing right now, I want to see that live. I don't want to see it on TV. I want to be in the building when this stuff happens, because he was unbelievable tonight.
So funny. I watched the game over my buddy Michael Kassar, who the power forward on my high school basketball team, co-owner of Wexler's Deli.
You don't need to explain that.
And giving some context.
Everybody knows.
For the faithful. But Wexler's Deli, Wexler's Deli.
Yeah.
And Michael was saying, yo, it's crazy. These Laker fans out here, like, do they even know LeBron's playing on their team? Like, the whole city would be on fire if you had the best player on the planet. And it's a combination of Laker fans always having the best player on the planet, LA being a city littered with sports stars now, and this unusual time that we're in, Brian, that you mentioned. So it's this weird feeling around the city or around town where you're trying to connect with people, but like, they got LeBron James in year 17 putting up that 29 points in the first half, his second highest playoff scoring half in his career. Like, this is mental what we're watching. And I agree with you. It does feel odd to see it from afar. You want to be in the culture and in the city and in the building.
Well, I mean, I think what really sucks about it too, beyond just all of us not having the ability to be in the building, all three of us would be there if this was typical, if this is a typical playoff series pre-pandemic, is LeBron actually began ingratiating himself to the fan base this year in a way that wasn't there last year. There was a real disconnect that was just palpable. But then once the Lakers got Anthony Davis, which was in no small part to help bring that investment from LeBron, and the way that he played this year and led this year, and then the way he's really took it upon himself to take the responsibility, post Kobe's death, and really recognizing what it means, this playoff run in that context, to not have the fans there and really that connection with the city now really does suck. It's like an extra level of why this all just sucks from a sports perspective.
And I feel like some of that, Andy, isn't even so much of LeBron's doing. It seems to be the general feeling and consensus from the fan base out here, whether it is the addition of Anthony Davis or the passing of Kobe or a new conversation around social justice, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's no longer defacing murals and saying if he wins one here, it's not going to count and all this nonsense. Like, there definitely is a connection to community, whether it's through, again, those things we mentioned, or his kids being a part of a school here and having a social life here and being a part of the city, or even the way LeBron pre-pandemic, like, you wanted to find LeBron, go to the Brentwood Country Mart or go over to Rise Nation on La Cienega on Tuesday mornings. Like, the dude was out there. He wasn't in his bubble or in his Newport Beach mansion. He was out there at the premieres, in the restaurants, out and about. So yeah, it is another reminder of how we are living in an alternative universe and how this is the new reality in so many ways. And not even to that point of the three of us would be in the building, hopefully for a big playoff game, but like, you'd be at your favorite bar or restaurant, right, and you'd be bringing money to that establishment, but like, and energy and a vibe there. I remember one year in 2010 when they beat the Celtics in 7, and I think I watched game 3 or 4 at Goal on 3rd, and DiCaprio was on a table screaming with John Sears. They were like homies from way back in the day. For all you 90210 fans out there, this is a big deal to see Leo hanging out with the leader of the Keg House. Yes. And it's like, you could get that vibe in LA just going into any old bar.
Eventually, ex-leader of the Keg House pulled one too many stunts, alienated too many people.
Did he have too many black ping pong balls?
Can we talk? Can we talk about this? Like, I like, there are not a lot of things that, all of us have, we've been around. We're the jaded, sports guys who have seen a lot of things. We've been lucky enough to be in the building for, all of this stuff that's happened and blah, 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 blah. But like this got me off of my couch. And like, I was the guy who started filming clips on his phone from the television. Like I became that guy. Like this.
Well, the more they can get of that, getting out in transition, the better off they will be. One of the best running teams in the league, and LeBron James is just turning into.
What the hell was that?
Well,
like, watch it in slow motion. Watch it in slow motion.
And this is turning defense into offense. Great block there, and another one by LeBron.
I mean, good God.
Yeah,
forget that he's 35 or whatever. That was insane. Like that play where Harden split. The words that were coming out of my mouth right before that was, well, that's a shitty double. They just split that really easy. Like that was really simple. And he just like
so many plays, whether it's a dramatic block like that, or even just a tip or a switch, or just his presence is remarkable. And I don't know, there's part of me that thinks he's such a psychopathic competitor that he saw Kawhi block somebody with his pinky last night and was like, okay, I can do better than that.
That was nuts. I mean, we've over the years made so many jokes about, Kawhi Leonard and the claw and those hands, and like, they're even bigger and more strong than Boban or whatever. But like, that was a finger block. A finger block against a dunk.
And then LeBron went up for like a volleyball spike. That was something you see in Manhattan Beach.
Okay, question. Here's my question. I mean, obviously, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, is LeBron James, of anybody you can remember, the best and coolest non-center shot blocker of all time?
Tayshaun Prince may be up there as well with the chase down blocks.
Dwayne Wade was
spectacular. Dwayne Wade was really solid as well. But LeBron, I mean, think about this, guys. Michael said this to me during the game as well. He said probably in 2 years, when LeBron's 37, maybe even 3 years when he's 38, he'll probably be physically what Magic Johnson was at his peak physically.
Wow. That's really interesting way.
Yeah.
Like at 38 in year 20, he will be as strong, fast, capable, quick as Magic was at his prime.
Yeah, because Magic was never an above the rim guy. Like, he obviously was an amazing athlete, but he wasn't a LeBron type of athleticism. It's a really interesting way of thinking.
And didn't take care of himself in the same way.
What? If in year 20 he's Magic Johnson?
I know.
That's crazy.
I mean, seeing some of the things that LeBron did in this game, also too, to really early on when the Laker defense wasn't kicking in the way it did in the second half, so much of that ability to keep the thing from getting away from him was just LeBron saying, "I'm not letting it." Like
he was Gandalf.
Yeah,
you shall not pass.
But it's just like, this game is not getting away from us. We will figure this out in halftime, what we need to do. But until then, if it requires me doing it by myself, I'll do it by myself.
And what's because Ben, we talk about this, like, I'm sure you remember a time when somebody would elevate in the playoffs for the Knicks or whoever it might be. I mean, Wes, I'm not sure how far you have to go back. Afar. I mean, it's far.
You got a nice, like, unexpected 8 and 6 from John Wallace.
So, but like, you run into these, like, this is not the first time in the playoffs, Andy, where that moment you've been talking about has happened. You go back to game 2 against Portland, like the Lakers eventually win that game, and it was because LeBron basically willed them through the first half of that until AD got going. And like, we didn't get to see it last year because playoff LeBron didn't actually make the playoffs. And then, they lose game 1. They were crap in the bubble for a while and all this. You're like, hey, is it going to show? Oh, okay. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really crazy. And it's cool to take a moment in our life of tweeting and timelines and ranking and legacies and all this stuff, just to do exactly what you're doing, Brian, and just say, I got out of my chair tonight and I recorded this because this was special and amazing. And it's a second round, game 2 or whatever, but this is no joke. We're watching our hero in the prime of his career. And then on top of it,
He's 35, Ben, and you just used the prime of his career. He's 5 years
and I'm
old.
also going to go off the court and go be a leader in the national conversation around social justice as well. It's not like I'm going back to my hotel room and just icing my knees and FaceTime.
Well, actually, we learned after the game what he's not going back to his room and doing with his wife. Because he said, my wife does not like my post-game routine. She's not having any fun around here because he takes care of his body. And I don't think that's what he meant.
I also worry about Savannah, too, because I know she's got the juice bar down in South Beach.
She's bored.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of juices they're working with in the bubble. It seems like they figured out some kind of, the food and whatnot. It's not as much of a thing as it was at the onset. But can she get like a guava, kiwi, mango? I don't know.
I'll tell you what you can't get, according to Frank Vogel, is pizza. Pizza's really hard to get in the bubble, apparently. Like Vogel last week said that, they had that long stretch between games when they closed out Portland and when this series began. So, they had some rare days off that you typically don't get in the bubble. And Vogel said I think it was last Sunday, they had a pizza party. And he in particular was really excited because Vogel apparently loves pizza and said that he hasn't been able to get much in the bubble. And then Tanya Ganguly, who covers the Lakers for the LA Times and is in the bubble, she confirmed that pizza's hard to come by down in Orlando in that setting. I don't know why, but it is.
I get that. I totally get that. First of all, Vogel's, great name for a neighborhood pizza place in Manhattan Beach. Yes. Putting that out there.
Play his cards right. He could get some investors.
I did a show, My Family's Got Guts, the short-lived reboot of the Nickelodeon TV show Guts. We included families in our edition, and I was in Orlando for 5 weeks in August. So I've done this bubble thing, Turkey Lake Road. And I will agree, it's not a pizza town. I think if I had to rank,
Disney does a lot of things.
Yeah.
Disney does a lot of things really well, and everybody knows where Andy and I came from and where we used to be. I hold no ill will towards Disney. They do fantastic. The one thing that they don't do well at Disney World, Disneyland, is pizza.
It's pizza. No, if you consume with cutting it to make it look like Mickey, like it doesn't matter. It's terrible pizza. I wouldn't. Pizza's probably the 9th thing I'd have at Disney World and probably the 100th thing I'd have in Orlando. So I understand Vogel's frustration.
Can we all agree too that
Andy, what I wanted to talk about on your show?
Would you agree, Andy, that Frank Vogel's favorite thing about pizza parties though is probably the little animatronics that you get, like the Chuck E. Cheese style show? Because I feel like he's the kind of guy who would enjoy that.
Well, we talked about this before, Brian. Like when Frank Vogel talks about having a pizza party, that strikes me as a wild party for Frank Vogel. Like Frank Vogel, a pizza party is as wild as his bachelor party was. Like he said his favorite pizza is just cheese and pepperoni, which feels very on brand for Frank Vogel. He just likes it right in the middle of the fairway.
Oh, it's called the Mike Trudell. It's what it's called. Trudell.
But it's actually the only way to make a pepperoni pizza sound more like milk toast is to actually call it cheese and pepperoni,
which he did.
There's a word for a pepperoni, for a cheese and pepperoni. I feel like
Vogel is the guy who is the one person who's like they're eating the pizza and then that little table, that plastic table that holds the pizza together. He's like, does anybody want that? And you're like, I guess you do? What are you going to do with that later?
Don't worry about it. I got my reasons.
Total wasted branding opportunity. Have you ever opened a pizza and seen one of the little plastic table holders that hold all the slices together with like a little logo on the top?
Oh yeah. No, actually, but have you ever seen the people who make little pieces of artwork out of it?
Frank Vogel. That's what he's doing in his off day tomorrow.
We'll probably get back to LeBron before this is all over, but what the hell is going on with Rajon Rondo?
I tweeted out the other night, I said they look like a second-round playoff team because Rondo's jacking.
A lot of people in our audience have noted that.
Yeah, and they did at that time with Rajon Rondo jacking corner threes and some Morris twins throwing up floaters. I'm like, am I watching championship basketball? Like, I guess I am. But if he can do that, can he do it again tomorrow? You know what? Who cares if he can do it again next game? You got one game from that.
He's played a direct role in helping them win 2 games in this series. If that's all that happens, as long as he's not a net minus moving forward in this series, Rajon Rondo did his job. Because you should not be expecting Rondo to carry you through a series. At his peak, Rondo wasn't carrying teams through a series. That's never been who he was.
Brian, I got a question for you. Is Rondo a Hall of Famer?
My instinct said no. If the Lakers win a title this year and he plays like this the rest of the way, he's got a shot at it. I always just go gut instinct, but while you guys talk about it, I said no. Certain guys are obvious, like, Dwight, people like that are really obvious. Let me look up some comps for him.
Kyle Lowry, a Hall of Famer? I saw Chris Mannix was having that debate down
I think Kyle Lowry is, but I'm pretty sure, beyond the fact that Lowry, I think, had a larger role on that Raptors team that won a title than Rondo had on the Celtics one, Lowry's also had larger roles on his teams over the course of his career in general. I think has made more All-Star teams than Rondo has.
He's probably made 4 All-Star teams, or
I think Lowry's made like 7 or 8. I think
Lowry made 6. I was looking it up, but it's I think Lowry is a step above Rondo.
Okay, you guys. Okay, I'm currently on the page for Hall of Fame probability at Basketball Reference. Kyle Lowry, LeBron James, by the way, is at a sturdy 100%. Kyle Lowry, 85%. Kevin Love, 73%. What do you guys think Rondo's percentage is?
I'm going to say 60.
In the 40s, because he doesn't have the off-court, like the off-NBA accolades that go into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So Kevin Love's a Basketball Hall of Famer because of gold medals, because of maybe a Final Four run at UNLV.
Banana Republic model, that should count for something.
Great mental health awareness. Great dog Instagram account.
It's the modern NBA.
Great brand of content with Muscle Milk.
Let's put this out on. I'm going to put this on a poll while you guys are talking about it.
The Muscle Milk vote is what
brand of content. Look it up. Kevin Love paddleboarding in Park City.
I'm going to guess Rondo is at like 52%.
In the 40s.
Ben Lyons wins this round. He is at 40.68%.
So I don't know why we went down the Rondo Hall of Fame rabbit hole, but he put up a
because you asked. But it's an interesting question.
He feels like the Hall of very good to me, like just the Hall of really, really good, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with being in the Hall.
Let me ask you this, guys: is Draymond a Hall of Famer?
I feel like I don't feel like he is, and the reason I don't is that I think Draymond is a great player, but he's also been in such a specific setup that I don't want to take anything away from who he is, but he's been more than along for the ride. Like, that's not fair to Draymond, but I feel like it's been so specific to what he does well and can shy away from what he doesn't do well. Mm-hmm. It feels to me like he's not.
Who has better odds, Ben? Who do you think?
Draymond Green or Rajon
Rondo to get in the Hall of Fame right now?
Draymond Green, yeah.
Wrong. Rondo, Draymond's at 30%.
Well, also, I remember one time I was casually in the sort of bullpen area at Turner, where a lot of the different on-air talent are crossing paths in their various responsibilities, and they were having a debate of should Ben Wallace be in the Hall of Fame. And Kevin Garnett looked at me, which he very rarely did, and was like,
Ben, I have to stop you for just a second. Andy has a terrible habit. Every time somebody on the chat leaves a comment about how he looks like Jason Statham, he stops whatever he's doing to put the comment on the screen, which he has done now. Andy's screen name of Amaristan. Whoa! Isn't that your burner account? I think we all know. Whoa! Who invited Jason Statham onto the show?
Yeah, but let's modify it a little bit, Brian. With it's definitely like a Transporter sequel or a Crank sequel.
Okay, are you kidding me? Crank 2? I'm all over. High Voltage? I'm all over it.
I interviewed Statham for Crank.
As somebody who
did you interview for Crank?
Yeah. At the SLS hotel.
Nice.
Indoors. What was I going to say is, so Kevin Garnett asked me, do you think Ben Wallace is a Hall of Famer? And I was like, I don't know. You got to give me like
Oh, yes.
10 years. You got to give me a certain amount. And then he stood up and was like, 10 years, you didn't step on the court. He ain't going to give you shit. What the? And I just took my bags and went and made my flight. But I think, and then he yelled at me about the taxes in Malibu, which was really aggressive. You ever try to build a guest house and motherfuckers try and tax you? So Ben Wallace reminds me of Draymond Green in the sense of he had a good window of 5 years where he was the exact piece needed for a system to fully go.
I think, but I mean, he's won multiple defensive player of the years. Like, he led the league in rebounding several times. I think
Ben Wallace is way better than Draymond Green.
45% is his Hall of Fame odds, Ben Wallace.
I think it should be high. I think Ben Wallace is a no-brainer. That's
Ben Wallace me. Fan over here, Andy.
I am. I mean,
flashbacks to that Lakers series, huh?
Man, you could argue Ben Wallace was the most important or impactful defender of his era. He was the most unique.
How about Draymond Green? Guard all 5 positions. Ben Wallace couldn't do that.
Oh, yes, he could. Yeah, yes, he
could.
Was
he guarding in the mid-2000s?
I mean, Draymond wasn't doing it regularly. That wasn't like his regular assignment.
Ben, I once saw Ben Wallace throw on a pair of skates and lock up Stevie Eiserman. I mean, the guy could do anything defensively. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but that was post-Red Army. Those guys weren't at the height of their powers.
By the way, I did put it up on the poll: is Rajon Rondo a Hall of Famer? And absolutely the sign of the times. And because
tonight your audience,
everyone thinks that Andy and I are just trolly, shitbags, basically.
Welcome to my time.
Nobody is taking the question seriously. They're all in the comments are talking about are you talking with or without a statue at Staples? All this stuff. No, we're literally asking a real question here. Like, is he? But like, no. This is.
Hey, by the way, I know we're
bed.
By the way, Lisa Leslie statue at Staples. What are we doing, guys? What's happening?
That should be there.
Absolutely.
What are we doing?
I would take down the De La Hoya one and put up a Lisa Leslie one.
What's up?
Lisa Leslie. If nothing else, De La Hoya, that doesn't belong there.
Well, I was going to say, if nothing else, at least give Lisa Leslie the opportunity to purchase her statue, which is essentially how De La Hoya got his. I mean, we're being honest.
What if you could do that? Like, who around would have a statue if you really could buy one, like you could a star on the Walk of Fame? Like, who would be the most random people that would have?
That would have like their own stuff. I mean, there's this rapper named Won G, WON space G, who you just see around Beverly Hills, but he never really puts out music, and he's been like famous in Bentleys for 15 years. I've just seen Won G in Beverly Hills probably 100 times, and look him up, and you'd be like, I don't understand. And I could see a Won G statue.
That's a good Suzanne. 2525 puts out Steve Mason. That is a very good. Good option. I think he would probably do that.
I know. Accidents for injury.
He would totally buy himself one.
Yes, he would.
Have you been in accidents? Look at my statue.
There is no question that he would do that. I'm putting out the Draymond versus Ben Wallace poll as well at Cam Brothers. I think it's better.
Nobody is taking the Rondo question seriously. We totally meant it in good faith, and nobody is taking it seriously.
We brought this on ourselves. This is actually.
Also, I think it's unfortunate that basketball has this thing where it's like the Basketball Hall of Fame as opposed to the NBA Hall of Fame.
That's true.
I mean, Hall of Fames are subjective, obviously, and some can argue foolish, but at the same time, I think it's a great tool to educate young people on the history of the game. I think it's a great way to give people their flowers when they can smell them, all that stuff. And for the NBA to not have its own kind of way to honor people who have just impacted that league, I think is kind of unique and weird.
Because Rondo's Kentucky career wouldn't boost him that much, correct?
No, he doesn't have like Team USA moments or college moments. Like a Ralph Sampson's in the Hall of Fame. And it's because of his college career.
Yeah, I mean, Rondo's had a really good career. He just like Brian said, sometimes it's just your gut reaction feels like the right one.
DeRozan a Hall of Famer?
DeMar DeRozan?
I don't think so.
LaMarcus Aldridge?
LaMarcus Aldridge, 50%, 51% right now.
I was going to say he feels like a coin flip. He feels close, but I could see the argument against him. Like, he's he's never been the focal point of teams that went particularly far, even though LaMarcus Aldridge was obviously a really good player. And sometimes this stuff is circumstantial. Like sometimes, Chris Paul has not gone super far in the playoffs. Chris Paul is an obvious Hall of Famer.
Right.
I mean, like there's no way around this. So,
are there guys on that list, Brian, who are in single digits, their chances?
Yes, DeMar DeRozan, for one. Funny you bring him up, 6.75%.
How about Amari? What's once a Knick, always a Knick, standing tall and talented? Does he even make the list there?
Take a guess. Take a guess at Amari's Hall of Fame.
6%, although he did come out and say if he does go into the Hall, he'd like to go in as a Knick.
I thought he was going to go as well, one of the players on the Israeli team he owns.
What do you got there for standing tall and talented?
Andy, what do you think?
I'm going to guess that Amari is 58%.
73. Currently above Damian Lillard.
Multiple All-Star teams. He was all NBA, I'm guessing.
It's going to stay on his plaque, like wasted Melo's prime.
Wow. Okay. While I remember, we had this question a bunch of times on Twitter. I'm not sure it's actually in the chat right now, so I apologize if I don't actually name the person who asked, but wanted us to ask you, Ben. If the Knicks don't retire Melo's number, or if they don't end up doing that, could Melo end up the only Hall of Famer who doesn't have a retired number anywhere? I guess the inference being Denver wouldn't retire his.
This is how crazy sports is. So Carmelo Anthony, the most decorated male USA basketball player of all time, and the greatest one and done in the history of college basketball, one of the great scorers of all time, will not have his number retired. Yet Harold Baines has his number retired for the White Sox. All right. So yes,
that is
Carmelo Anthony will not have
the strangest. That is the strangest direction to go with the I'm angry that Carmelo's not going to get his number retired anywhere.
It just shows
and you're pulling Harold Baines into something.
I think they retired Harold Baines' number while he was still playing, which is ridiculous.
Chicago loves Harold Baines.
But it just shows you how localized the number retired thing is. So to try to take a shot at Carmelo, like, yeah, they're not going to retire him because his numbers were not, or it's not on him. It's just sort of the way his career fell. I hope the Knicks don't. No, I don't think the Knicks don't. What do we? No, please no. No, like, sorry. You win 2 playoff series in 7 years, you don't get your number retired.
Well, you know what's interesting though with Denver
you know how much I love him. He's my favorite Knick of all time.
No, I know that. But like, what's interesting with Denver though is, it was so long ago that you forget those years, and he forced his way out of Denver in one of the most emphatic ways we've ever seen a player. But his time with Denver, they got to the Western Conference Finals in 2009. They eventually lost to those Lakers. That's one of the furthest Denver's gone. Like over the course of their
made the playoffs for 8 years before Melo, and then they didn't make it for another 7.
That's the question that Hassman 0 asked, 00. Why wouldn't Denver retire his jersey? It's not like Denver is just like dripping in guys, over the course of their history that like it's like you have to retire. Like he's one of the 5 greatest Nuggets of all time. I mean,
let's see. I put Mutombo for emotional reasons, obviously. Yeah, exactly. Alex English, Fat Lever, and maybe Kiki Vandeweghe. But yeah, no, Melo's obviously right up there. I think to Andy's point is because he unceremoniously was like, "Yeah, I want to leave," and made them.
Well, but here's the question though. Like the problem with the Knicks, the problem the Knicks face is the Knicks kind of a problem with the Knicks. You can't boil things with the Knicks down to the problem.
Although most first-time voters in the NBA, guys.
There you go. A problem with the Knicks is that they kind of want to treat it like the Lakers do. Like the Lakers have a really high bar and a lot of dudes that you could retire that under like a normal team would retire, like Harold Baines. Yeah. They would retire. And, Michael Cooper and all these, but you can't do it unless you're in the Hall of Fame. The Knicks want that same kind of threshold, except they don't win, and so they can't have anybody. They're going to go 40 years without retiring a jersey.
Yeah, 1,000%. And you're right. And it's like John Starks, for example, what he means to Knicks culture and fandom. Any other franchise probably getting his number retired.
Yeah,
right. Close for the Knicks. Charles Oakley, before the whole thing with Dolan, would have gotten his number retired anywhere else. They do carry themselves as if they're this Tiffany organization, and they should really just put up Magic Lampi or Mike Sweetney.
Okay. Now here's
anybody out there wants to look up great internet basketball content, look up the Landry and Andy show, when Landry Fields and Andy Routins hosted a show on MSG.
Andy and I still maintain and will maintain forever that Landry Fields has the most versatile name that sports has ever seen.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
Outfielder,
midfielder. It can be a prep school. It can be the right side of the tracks. It can be the wrong side of the tracks.
Right.
like
dude, he grew up in Landry Fields and managed to make it out. Also works just as well as, dude, the guy grew up in Landry Fields.
Where did John Wagner go to high school? Did he go to Landry?
I think he did.
Oh, he could be a snooty prep school kid. He could be a blaxploitation hero.
He could be a mall. Like, hey, where do you guys want to meet this at? Let's go down to Landry Fields, the food court.
I feel like that it'll come across your timeline like next week. That'll be like, Landry Fields just turned 30. And you're going to be like, really?
Right, what?
Landry Fields could be a food court. It could be a restaurant. I mean, It can be
a law firm.
Anything.
I was just in an accident. Oh, who's representing you? I got Landry Fields. Oh, you're a good shit. It is the most versatile name in sports history. It can be literally anything. It's absolutely
right in the back pocket. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. That's for you. That's for you for coming on our show so much whenever we have these special occasions.
Happy
also,
to.
this from Tombstone _Doc. Ryan Hollins versus Ben Lyons. Who gets the ESPN broadcast statue? No offense to our guy Ryan. We love him. He's our favorite madman. Ben wins this one, and it's not even close.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. Ryan Hollins did, however, box me out in a Special Olympics unified game.
I played in that game. That was
Ron Artest played in jeans and boots, and we played this game with Special Olympic athletes and non-Special Olympic athletes, and I was guarding Ryan Hollins.
Hollins running around like Stuart Scott in that Sports Center commercial.
See what it's like to get posted up by an NBA player.
Everyone
just cleared me out.
Yeah, I forgot what we were. Oh, okay. So here's the next topic I wanted to get to, because this was the other thing that happened in the NBA today was that the Miami Heat, who employed Jimmy Butler, who I owe Jimmy Butler like 1,000 apologies because I misunderstood everything.
I never doubt a man who takes the rear view windshield off his car because he doesn't look back.
I just think, there was a point in time when I was like, you know what? If everybody thinks you're a pain in the ass, maybe you're just not, maybe you're not quite as good as you think you are. Maybe the problem gets to be you. It turns out, no, the problem was the Bulls and the Timberwolves and the Sixers, and you just put Jimmy Butler in the right spot, and he suddenly becomes not just awesome, he's the world's coolest basketball player.
I'm the Jimmy Butler of media, Ryan, because I work for ESPN. It's their problem. I work at Turner. I work at the E! Channel, Extra, Nickelodeon. It's someone else's problem. Everywhere I go, there you are, right? I'm the Jimmy Butler of media.
But it's just like, I was wrong. I didn't understand. I got it wrong, and for that I apologize. He's the greatest bubble personality, and he has an incredible mustache. And I'm here for all of it. But the Jimmy Butler Miami Heat eliminated the Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who does he play for? The Milwaukee Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks.
And now this is 2 years in a row. Giannis has been bounced along with his team. And the speculation is, as Giannis can go into his Supermax summer, whether or not he signs it. Let's play the he doesn't game. So now you're into this whole like fire sale potential thing. Do you have to trade him? All this kind of stuff, the Paul George scenario, the Kawhi scenario, all of these things. Where does he go? Is he a future Laker, future Knick, future Toronto Raptor because he's an international guy? The assumption is Lakers, Knicks. Everybody's going to talk about that, but where does he go?
I see him going to a big market. I think it's not about the basketball. It's going to be a market thing. And I could see him even going down the road in Chicago. That team is dying for a superstar. His agent is based in Chicago. I think he would fit with a lot of their young pieces, and they have enough cap space and packages and picks to try to flip and maybe bring somebody to pair him with there. I think mobility is something that we're not talking about in this current NBA. We're so transfixed on the bubble, but it doesn't feel like there's a July 1st in 2 months, obviously, because it's not July 1st, but you know what I mean? The idea of
no, and it is going to come up in like
what's the date?
6 weeks. I don't know, but it's like November.
Yeah, it's going to come up quick, and there's going to be all this stuff. So how does what happened in the bubble impact what happens on the new July 1st? I think Giannis moving I don't think it's as much of a possibility as everyone's making it to seem in the media. He's the next one up after AD was last summer, and since 2010, there's always going to be a guy who's the talked about free agent in the NBA, and it's his turn. But I could see him really staying in Milwaukee.
He told Chris Haynes, a piece out of Yahoo, that he is not going to be asking out. At least this summer. You know, this summer this is what it's interesting though. This summer is where he can sign that supermax. And he could potentially decline that without asking out. So he could put out that strong statement now that he's not asking out without being held down or committing. You know what I mean? Like
I'm not asking out, but I'm also not signing the
right. He can keep himself, and by extension, the Bucks, in limbo, because he'll be fine. He'll be able to figure out a situation.
This is a man who 8 years ago was selling sunglasses on the steps of the Parthenon. It's incredible, his story and his life and his journey to Milwaukee. And we've never seen, I mean, not since Kobe, a guy really grow up like that in front of the whole sort of basketball universe.
He's so different than the other guys because he's international, because he didn't grow up in the all that stuff you're talking about, I think puts him in a different category of player. It's why somewhere like Toronto becomes a live option.
A culture place too, right? A market that's either Miami, Toronto.
What's interesting is Miami had been a rumored spot for a while, but I think a lot of that had to do with, okay, they beat Miami, then they lose to either Boston or Toronto in the conference finals, or they lose to the Lakers, the Clippers, or whoever in the finals. It always changes with that idea of, can you join the team that just beat you? And, you know, obviously Kevin Durant showed that you can, but also Kevin Durant, and this might be different for Giannis, showed it doesn't automatically make it.
How about this? I'll do you a step better, Andy. Like the Heat, you know, they got the Raptors or the Celtics, and like, what's to say? Like, what prevents Miami from getting to the finals? I'm not saying they will. Celtics are really good. Toronto could still win the series. Miami, like, I think the biggest thing that had Miami as like the Giannis destination is, that they would need that piece. Like, I don't think anybody thought Adebayo would be this good this fast. You know, Duncan Robinson. Like, Miami's really, do you gut that team to go get Giannis?
Do you
have to?
Can you keep Tyler, and can you keep, like Nunn and all the youth pieces, Duncan and all that together and just roll?
I'd have to look it up, and somebody would have to explain it.
I'm looking right now. I'm trying to see if I can get some info on it. I mean,
with the Lakers, the thing about it is too, it's like you just like, can LeBron and Giannis play on the same team? Like, and then AD, like that's a weirdly constructed team.
Is this what you guys kept me up for late at night to talk about the Lakers getting LeBron, Giannis, and AD?
Well, the sales pitch is LeBron's gonna be gone in a year. It'll be we'll tell you, we'll pass the torch, Kobe style. We'll do like an actual torch passing, and it'll be a thing. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's true.
No, and what's interesting too, guys, and we sit here as armchair analysts sitting on the sidelines, but to say to Giannis, okay, his physical athleticism is such a huge part of his game.
Right.
And when that slows down, when that changes, what's your next act?
Michael Jordan, 25 though.
I know, but when you're that physically gifted and strong, okay, at some point you're going to have to change your game. LeBron's had machinations of his game throughout his career. Giannis is still on the 100 miles an hour go. He's expanded the three a little bit this year, was a big step. I think he never hit 5 threes in a game before this year, and he did it 10 times or something crazy, right? So can he, I don't know, is there a world where Giannis is under the rim ever? Are we ever going to, Michael Jordan
he's
did it.
14 feet tall. No, I mean, eventually, but he's got a long way to go. And the skill set should improve a little bit. He's going to, there'll be a little mid-range game. The 3-point shot will get a little better and all that. I mean, he's not going to be the same guy in 3 years.
He's still an player, obviously. Yeah. But I do want to see him ascend with that. I think the only way he continues to ascend is if he evolves his game somehow. Clearly, this is.
Here's a good question from Tombstone Doc. The Lakers waive his brother as soon as Giannis resigns. How fast do you think which I always forget, Kostas. How fast do you think Kostas Antetokounmpo is not a Laker once it's clear Giannis is not coming here?
It depends what's going on with the global pandemic and the return of the big three. To see a possible spot on the killer.
If Giannis committed to Chris Haynes, I'm signing the extension. Everyone just needs to relax. Would the Lakers cut Kostas now, in the middle of the bubble?
Well, here's my question. Remember, LeBron sent out the press release, LeBron, I'm going to join the Lakers, and that was it, and everybody saw it. And wait a minute, how many seconds after the Giannis press release, if the answer is not the Lakers, is Kostas a free agent? What's the over-under? I'm giving you 90 seconds.
Wasn't able to bring Chris Smith with him to the Lakers, so there's no more brother plus ones. And if he's out of the picture, then Kostas, I'm sorry, back to Athens, I guess. I don't know, bro.
Well,
I think the Knicks are about to sign Giannis for 4 years, $50
million. Because you can never have too many cards up your sleeve. Okay, I know we wanted to talk with you about Tenet. And the release made 20-ish million domestically.
It's up to about 150 million worldwide.
It also has a massive budget. What did you think?
They actually crashed a real airplane, into a real building.
Christopher Nolan figured out that it was actually less expensive to crash a real plane than to do whatever digital effects and green screening to recreate, to create a plane crash.
Well, you guys are huge Nolan fans because you understand how what he's doing is really the height and the ultimate of what this is all about. When you're creating mass art, when you're creating a vision for a world and a story that is unfiltered by traditional studio politics, and you're able to have your vision replicated on the screen at that scale for the entire world to enjoy. That's a high level of art and creativity. And, the fact that people are making the pilgrimage to states where theaters are open. I saw my buddy Scott Mance drove to Vegas. Adnan Virk drove somewhere to New Jersey, 3 hours. People
really?
A lot of theaters aren't open, or I don't.
Well, I know that, but I didn't realize people were actually making road trips to get that done.
I was till I realized that's a little aggressive with what I have going on right now. I was I should just drive to Vegas, go see it, and drive back, spend a day. But that's absurd. So I think it's a reminder that event cinema is still something that people crave and want to seek out, and movies move the conversation forward. I haven't heard debates about the themes yet of Tenet, and not enough people have seen it to be sitting around having dinner and talking or Zooming with your friends and debating an ending or something like that. But I think it's admirable how much he fought for wanting to have it go out in theaters. And that's not to say he ignored the health pandemic. It did quite the contrary. He honored it and realized, okay, it's not safe to dump this now. We're going to pull it back. We're going to dump it when we know it's a little bit more safe and controlled. And he didn't let the studio pressure of, we got to make money on this thing now and put it out in homes in April. And I applaud him for being that.
Well, it's going to be an interesting question.
How much does that thing make once it goes out to home video? I mean, it's not a movie that is designed for that.
No, but it's a movie that's going to live forever. I mean, your kids are going to watch Tenet in 10 years, and how they consume it on what device will be the new business model. So, when you're making art like that, that's going to live in your studio's library for generations, there has to be value to that.
Well, it's also going to be interesting, and I don't think we're really going to know the answer for a few months or maybe even longer till we start seeing what, like you were saying, event cinema looks like when the pandemic starts, God willing, to shift and things start getting even remotely more normal. Like, was this a good idea? Like, even if you admire what Nolan was trying to do, and Nolan is somebody that really cares a lot about the theater experience, and there's a lot of directors like that, Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, but this is something he cares a lot about. But was it, and it was something that he put a lot of pressure on Warner Brothers to do. Was this, though, a smart decision, both for the money, but also for the movie itself?
And the life of the film. And obviously, so much of the film's identity in the culture and conversation is tied to this narrative of it being delayed and not being in theaters. But, I agree with him. And I'm like, you guys, I love going to the movies. It's harder as you get older and find the time. But
right.
That's my bread and butter. And there's nothing that beats that experience for me and for so many people. So how that looks in a post-COVID world, I don't know. I don't have the answers to. I don't know if I even want to
honestly, here's a good comment. The Nathan Mark, who is a guy who's been really cool, followed us for a long time. He lives in New Zealand. He said as soon as lockdown was over, life went back to, quote, old normal, basically instantly. Now, of course,
you guys got to figure it out. You're New Zealand. You just have it's a beautiful country, beautiful people.
It is. If you've never been to New Zealand, particularly the South Island of New Zealand, is the most spectacularly beautiful place I've ever seen. And I've seen 4 places. One of which is Van Nuys. So I've really seen 3 places.
Really quick.
Let me do something real fast on this. Is that even faster?
Ray underscore LPI apparently hates this conversation, but can't figure out how to leave. Do you have any advice, Brian? He's apparently trying desperately.
I mean, he really can't. You just close your browser. I mean, that'll do it. Close the window.
Yeah, go to Vegas and go watch.
It's not hard. Yeah, you were computer literate enough to find the thing. How can you not leave?
Yeah, I mean, Ray, if you don't like the conversation, leave. But this really feels like it's on you. This doesn't feel like it's on us to guide you out of this room.
But the exit signs are there.
Baseball trivia here from my dad's book. Out of the field.
Okay, let's do that. We only got about 6 or 7 minutes here.
In Ray's avatar, he looks like a grown-ass man. I mean, figure this out.
Hey, Ray,
to your point, though,
to hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases in the same season.
A-Rod?
Barry Larkin. All right,
Barry Larkin. I'm glad we stopped for that.
Is Ray still hanging around?
Mike Floss, our man over at Delicious Pizza, as he notes, this is not the Hotel California. you can leave anytime.
Whenever you want. As he says, you can leave. To the point you were making about the theater experience and this, that, the other big movie that came out was Mulan. Ray says, I'm still here. Thank you, Ray. I mean, we're glad to have you. I mean, give it a week. Maybe the problem is Ben, and you'll enjoy tomorrow's guest.
Who do you guys have tomorrow? Kelvin
Washington, who we all know from Spectrum.
No way. Okay, crushing it on Spectrum.
Oh, he's fantastic. It's great. Great lineup this week. Actually, Thursday is going to be LeJethro Jenkins from the Dunkbait podcast. Just really, we've had him on the show before. Really funny guy and a huge Laker fan. So that'll be after Game 4, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that'll be after Game 4. I lose track. And Friday we're doing NFL because did you guys? You understand the NFL starts this week. Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic is going to join us on Friday. Lakers win analysis. Vince Marcial came at the beginning of the show. You can catch the replay for that. We'll also be podcasting these episodes as well. So if you missed the live broadcast, you can catch the replay. Ray will probably still be watching because he hasn't figured out how to leave yet, even though the show will have ended. But you can catch the replay.
Ray
you can catch
new Jeff and Tarzana is what it is. Ray is the new Jeff and Tarzana.
That's pretty good.
You're talking about going to see like films in theater. Like everybody's talking about Mulan, and it's $30. Have you ever taken 2 kids to a movie before? Like $30, and you make some popcorn at home. I'm saving $40. I mean, it's like Ben just changed his name to Pablo Prigioni. Yeah, but that's a good question. What is Jeff and Tarzana doing at a time right now, like in the pandemic? What was he doing when there was no sports?
I feel you on like the $30 for Mulan is actually kind of a good deal when you.
It is. It's expensive to stream a movie at home. If I had like a tiny 7-inch television, maybe I wouldn't do it. But I mean, the kids. Our plan actually is to use the outdoor projector, put it on the wall, and the kids sit outside and have a good time. And like $30 for that is really, if you have to take more than one kid to the movie theater, is not expensive.
We did it.
Movies are incredibly expensive.
We did it the day it was released. I've watched it. My wife has watched it at least 4 times, and my daughter's
at the theaters they have to price the content accordingly. You can't charge me the same amount of money.
What happened to Ben?
He's so mad about it. He left.
Huh.
But it is, like
that he fell out.
We go to the theater down Baldwin Hills because it's got they have the best kids ticket prices in LA. It's like you get in and out of there and you can actually buy like $6 or $7 children's tickets, and so the movie, if you go buy snacks and all that stuff, doesn't cost $80. But like if you go to a normal theater where they don't have discounted tickets and all that stuff, you take 2 or 3 kids and buy a bucket of popcorn and stuff like that. It's a $75 day. Remember in high school, Andy, when you used to go to the movies because it was the cheap thing to do? You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that you went because it was cheap?
There it
what
is.
happened?
It wouldn't be a Kamenetzky Brothers show and with me on it.
Did you move rooms? Because like suddenly the lighting is fantastic.
I switched from my computer to my phone, and I should have been using my phone the whole time.
Well, look at you. Look at how good you look. Let's make no, not that. That's not the view I want. Let's make Ben larger.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't get a chance to get to my book club. I got the Jackie Chan book here.
Okay, let's get to the books. Let's get to the books.
Jackie Chan, Never Grow Up, which is a great read. This guy's lived a fantastic life.
Yes, he has.
Someone who's lived an inspirational life. Reading this book about Freddie Steinmark, I Play to Win, about the 1969 Texas Longhorns defensive back who inspired a generation with his fight against cancer.
All right.
Fall River Dreams, the story of Chris Herron in high school.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that's great. I've heard that is great.
All-timer. Ball Don't Lie, Kevin Cottrell, collection of interviews and conversations with different NBA legends like Chris Webber and Isaiah Thomas and Candace Parker.
Is Sheed in there?
Yeah, Candace is in here. And then I got some crystal healing books if you guys want me to get into those as well.
Are any written by your wife?
October 20th. Thanks for the plug, Andy. Available now for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
That's awesome.
Crystal Healing for Women. It's really exciting. Comes out October 20th. You can buy it on pre-order right now.
Oh, that's cool.
I got to say, too, I am really pleased that you did switch to your phone because now it does appear that you are, in fact, paying your electric bill. Like the difference between computer and phone, it's unbelievable.
I didn't even get a chance to put on these glasses that when you're on a screen.
Are those your blue light things?
Block us from the blue light, and make us look like a Kamenetzky on.
What is the danger of blue light?
I think inflammation. I think we're just fighting inflammation all day long. Inflammation's coming at us constantly.
You look when you put on those glasses, Ben, like you're a Hollywood type that's about to testify before Congress. You want to make sure that they know this is important and you're serious about it. So you're wearing glasses. That's what they always do. That's the go-to move.
Have you ever tried this one when you need to make a point? When the quick removal, and then you use them to point at people.
This and this. Yeah, and this is the...
Shout out, by the way, to Kelvin Washington, our guest tomorrow, who I believe is in the chat. And shout out to my good friend Scott Krinsky. folks may recognize him. He was one of the Nerd Herd guys on Chuck, the sitcom. Very, very funny. He's hanging out here as well.
Great show, Chuck. All Sweet Tooth team. You ready?
Yeah.
David Cohn, Ed Mars, Candy Cummings, Peach Pie O'Connor, Mike Heath, Sweet Lou Panella. Tough.
Candy Cummings was a porn star. I think we can all agree. That's what Candy Cummings was.
I don't even know who that is.
I don't either, other than I'm pretty sure I've seen her naked.
Right here. Crazy. Yeah.
Before we go, can we just...
And this is turning defense
What's that?
into offense.
No, the sound went off.
And another one by LeBron.
Okay, I just needed to see that one more time.
I mean, yesterday everyone was talking about a middle finger block, and he was like, "No, one day of the attention not being on me, I think I'd like it back, please."
You know what's funny? Actually, I was just talking about my friend Scott Krinsky, who's he's in the chat right now. He's an actor. You would recognize him if you've seen him. He's been in a bunch of different stuff, a lot of commercials. He did do you remember years ago that commercial where LeBron plays the attorney, and he throws that basketball behind him, and the guy in the neck brace stands up and catches the ball, and that's how LeBron figured out that he's faking it? That's my friend Scott, who actually caught the ball. And he said the first time LeBron threw that ball, he basically docked him. He's like, Jesus. like he had to tell him, like, whoa, settle down there. Like, you don't realize just how fast you throw that ball.
By the way, speaking of LeBron and acting, we'd be in a universe where Space Jam would have already
No.
That's so true. I'd forgotten about that. But actually, my favorite part about, Andy, your story about Scott is that the first time when he was in that commercial, he called you and was like, I'm doing a commercial with LeBron James. He's good, right? Like, he has only the vaguest idea of who LeBron was. And that is always the story I tell when I try to convince people that we, as sports people, totally overrate how much the average person pays attention to sports. There are people wandering around this city of Los Angeles have no idea who LeBron James is. None.
You make the right basketball play or not? I don't know.
Right. Like, they literally don't know who he is. Like, like we obsess over Alex Caruso and like all this stuff. Alex Caruso could walk down the street like most of the time in LA. People don't even know who he is. And if he went somewhere else, nobody would know where he is.
We'll probably say to him, "Hey, I loved your live stream with that old guy from at the movies the other night."
Oh, you got to time tomorrow. We got to let you go. Where are you playing? Where are you hitting?
Playing bright and early. Danny Farag, Hollywood's favorite +1, and E from Entourage, Kevin Connolly, teed up.
Nice. Look at you, name dropper.
Fired up for the Islanders, obviously.
All right. Well, thank you for coming back. And the next time we lose our jobs and relaunch our show, we'll make sure we have you back again.
I'll be here with you guys.
All right. Tomorrow night, Kelvin Washington. Thursday night, LeJethro Jenkins. Friday, Jordan Rodriguez will get you ready for the NFL season. Remember, you can podcast this thing. You can catch the replay, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter / Periscope, because they're owned by the same people. We will see everybody tomorrow. Thanks for reading, Ben.
I got an Andres Galarraga question here. I'll get to it off air.
All right. Thank you.